Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks, and in this channel, we're covering communication skills to help you level up your confidence, charisma, and personal brand. For today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome is one of those feelings that you feel when you're thinking your biggest snakes, haters, and weasels, they're all going to gather around one another, and they're going to pull up your paperwork, your receipts, exposing you as some kind of fraud. Now, even if this never happens, even if you're over-exaggerating, whatever, as long as you're entertaining this thought for long enough, your subconscious mind is going to think it's real. And whenever your subconscious mind starts thinking that it's real, your behavior and your voice, these are going to be two casualties. Whenever you're second-guessing yourself too much, your behavior becomes more inhibited. And we see this with star athletes. You know that one athlete that has the height, the muscles, the speed, etc. Yet a part of them doesn't feel like they belong at this professional level. So what they start doing is they start feeling imposter syndrome, they start self-sabotaging, and eventually they move with less enthusiasm than the person that has less of the tangibles. They're shorter, they're skinnier, they're less fast. But this group is believing in themselves, while this group can't stop doubting themselves. So your behavior starts to get warped. The other case is where your voice starts to get messed up. And in order to spot this group of people, you'll see them. They make statements sound like questions. This is a checkered shirt? And are you telling me or are you asking me? I'm telling you? The heck? So this happens. Imposter syndrome, for the most part, is something that other people can't notice regarding you. Only you notice for yourself. For example, if you're a car mechanic and you have all the imposter syndrome in the world regarding your profession as a car mechanic, others, honestly, they can't tell unless you mess up their car a lot. But if you're not messing up their car and you're doing a good job, then they have no clue that you have a low self-esteem. No clue. This is like this for a lot of professionals. But in regards to communication skills, everything that we're discussing in this channel is unfortunately different for us. When we have a lot of imposter syndrome, it becomes easier to notice unless it's checked. And notice what I said, unless it's checked. I never said you should kill it off completely. You just gotta check it. Because have you ever noticed that some of the smartest, most gifted people, they always seem like they're moving with a chip on their shoulder. They always feel as though they have to prove themselves to other people. They have a little bit of imposter syndrome as well. It's because they do. But for them, they have a little bit of imposter syndrome. And a little bit is good because it allows you to not get too complacent. You're more alert of your surroundings. You know what's going on around you, and you're always looking to improve a little bit more. That's the good kind of imposter syndrome, and that's when you have a little bit of it. But when you have a lot of it, a whole bunch of it, that's when bad stuff happens. And in the world of communication skills, if you're sounding as though you're doubting what you're saying, then others for sure, they're also going to doubt what you're saying as well. So in today's episode, I want to share a story from last year where I was feeling imposter syndrome right before a speech that I had to give. And what I want you to do is I want you to understand the story, and I want you to reach your own logical conclusions. Because whenever we're hearing stories regarding other people, what happens is we're able to disengage our ego for some time. And whenever we can stop personalizing something, we can approach the situation from a logical context. So from hearing my story, I want you to get your own insights regarding imposter syndrome and how it works in the context of communication skills. If you're ready and you're excited, make sure you drop a like for me right on below. Last year, there was this mastermind group that hit me up in order to give a speech for their group. And the leader of the group, let's call him Tom, he hits me up and he's like, "Yo, Armani, I've been going through your YouTube channel, your blogs, your podcasts, etc. I love it, and I want you to come speak for us." "Sure. What do you want me to speak about?" "We want you to speak about how to build a friend." "Okay, and what kind of audience is going to be there. The audience that's going to be there, they're going to be some young professionals and a lot of people in their 40s and their 50s. 40s and 50s. When he said 40s and 50s, immediately I started to think, what the hell am I going to teach a 40 and 50-year-old about how to make a friend? Huh? See, I wasn't worried about creating the speech. I know I could create a speech on how to build a friend. But the audience members, how can they possibly gain value out of that? It's like you're a medical student and one of the best medical students out there, and you have to give a speech to engineers. The speech to audience mix, it doesn't feel right. And at that point, I was telling this Tom guy, I feel as though they're not going to get value, man. Can I think of something else and give a speech on that? No, bro. I went through all of your content. I know you can give a speech regarding this. That's what we want to hear. All right. I'll do it. So for the next week, I was just brainstorming different ways to give the speech. And virtually the entire time, I was just thinking, you're going to get exposed, dude. I mean, how are you going to teach 40 to 50-year-olds how to make a friend? You're just going to make yourself look like some kind of fool on stage, and all these other people in Tampa are going to be shit-talking you. Dang, man. But TikTok, time was going on by, and I had to create the speech. It got to a point where I stopped asking myself, how can they learn? And I started to ask myself, Armani, how did you make a friend? Just kind of curious. And up until that point, I hadn't really asked that question too many times. How did I make a friend? A lot of these great friends that I have, felt like they were just near me. But hold on, think about this. So I pull up 3 of my friends and I'm just sort of tracing them back. And as I trace them back, I made this fascinating realization. All of my friends at one point were strangers. Now look, I know that's not some breathtaking insight, but this was the first time that I was able to put it into words that my friends were at one point strangers. So strangers to friends, how did this transition happen? And as I was reverse engineering this entire process, that's when I started to create this framework called the social filtration system. And I felt as though the speech was going to be good, but I still didn't know if it was going to help other people. The next day, when I am about to give my speech, I'm basically switching up venues. I was supposed to do it in this nice, cool AC area, but instead, that place got canceled, and now I'm giving this speech in 95 to 100 degree hot weather outside someone's backyard with the fucking lake in my back, and I'm burning, and I'm wearing a suit. I'm facing imposter syndrome. Everything is going bad. And by the way, you can see this speech on my YouTube channel. I'll drop a card right on here. And if you're watching from the TV, I'll drop the link in the description box. And that was a day where social filtration system was born. I was basically presenting in front of a bunch of 40 to 50-year-olds, some young professionals, on how to build a friend. And that's where I was sharing my framework, and I was sharing a story about the importance of social skills and how to systematically turn a stranger into a friend. Once the speech was done, I felt doubt. I felt as though these people didn't get much value. But once I was done, there were a lot of people that were coming up to me and they were saying, yo, Armani, you want to know something? When you said the whole, your friends used to be a stranger, for some reason, that was the first time it clicked. Yeah, all friends were strangers. And before they became friends, they were acquaintances. And the way that you broke down how to turn a stranger into a friend, I never heard it done like that before. Where can I Google more about this? And that's when I would tell these people, oh, well, there's nothing to Google from my knowledge. I mean, this is something that I just learned from my experiences. And notice, once the entire thing ended, there wasn't one single person that was like, oh, what are your credentials? I mean, why should we be learning from you? Wait, you're younger than us. Wait, blah, blah, blah. They weren't saying all that. Even in a field like public speaking, where you're communicating, there is a thing called age discrimination. If you're a younger person, you absolutely get discriminated against because they think, well, what can I possibly learn from this person? So in a field where there's a lot of discrimination regarding age, and in a field where you would assume that they'll be like, what's your credentials? Let me see your school stuff, blah, blah, blah. They didn't ask me a single one of those questions. All they asked me was, where can I Google more about this? Because I got a lot of value. And that was the day when I started to realize that this whole imposter syndrome thing, it may never go away, but it can always be mitigated. And the way that it's going to be mitigated is by you understanding that it's not the whole credentials and all that stuff that matters. And whenever you're facing imposter syndrome, that's when you're becoming credentials focused. You're becoming credentials focused because that's how we're programmed in school. What's your GPA? What kind of letter grade did you get? Did you get your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, etc.? You're programming yourself to become credentials focused. In the real world, you need to become value focused. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit younger. It doesn't matter if you have imposter syndrome regarding your field. It doesn't matter if others can maybe not even tell. All that matters is, are you giving them value in some sort of way? Earlier, I was talking about how the car mechanic who has imposter syndrome, their customer doesn't care. Their customer doesn't care because they just want value in regarding their car working. So if this mechanic, if he or she could just focus on becoming value focused, then a lot of the imposter syndrome starts to just melt away. And it's the same context in regards to communication skills or any sort of imposter syndrome as a whole. You need to become value focused, not credentials focused. Focus on what you can control, not on what you can't. Now, this isn't to say that you should pretend to be someone that you're not. Don't claim that you're a master's student if you stopped at high school. Don't do stuff like that. But you won't even have to do stuff like that if you change your mind towards value focused. So when you're moving and you're moving in a way where you're having doubts in your moves, just ask yourself, why am I having doubts in my moves? And a lot of the times, that's when you're going to become credentials focused. You're going to be saying stuff like, well, I'm not old enough. I don't have as many years. I don't have this degree, etc. And that's when you need to make yourself aware to shift towards value focused, because that's all that people care about. Those 40 to 50-year-olds, they were able to learn about how to build a friend because they were able to draw insights regarding my experiences. They were able to gain a framework that they never knew about up until that meeting. And you can do the same for your field. Just keep focusing on how to get better on your field so you provide value to other people by accident. If you're trying to become a better mechanic, become the better mechanic, but become value focused. If you're trying to become better at cooking, same thing. Don't be talking about how many years as a chef, blah, 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 all that stuff. Does the food taste good or does it taste like trash? This is how you want to shift your mentality, and it's not going to be easy, yet it's still possible. Become value focused because in the real world, it is value. Are you hitting someone's core desires and making their life a little bit better? Are you helping them run away from pain? If so, you just need to keep focusing on that, and then the perception is going to favor you in the world of speaking. If you want more insights into the world of communication skills and how to just melt away your fears regarding small quirks in your life, make sure you check out the ArmaniTalks newsletter, a free daily newsletter where you get to learn more about how to communicate with confidence. To sign up, check out the link in the description box right on below, and I'll see you every single day at 7 p.m. EST. Thank you for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.